Marcus Reid, a black police officer, witnesses his white partner shooting an unarmed black man. As the department attempts to conceal the truth, Marcus is confronted with an impossible decision: safeguard his career or reveal the fatal cover-up. Will he jeopardize everything for justice or remain silent to protect himself? Stay tuned to discover Marcus's choice. Also, share a comment about where you're listening from and subscribe if you appreciate our stories. The sun descends over the city skyline, bathing the tranquil neighborhood in a warm amber light. The streets are almost deserted, with the occasional distant hum of a passing car breaking the silence. Officer Marcus Reid sits quietly in the passenger seat of the squad car, watching the fading daylight, feeling the familiar tug of exhaustion. It's been a lengthy shift, nothing remarkable. Routine calls, a few traffic tickets, and stretches of uneventful patrols. But uneventful is good, he reminds himself. It means safety. Marcus's partner, Jim O'Reilly, is at the wheel. Jim is the type of cop Marcus has never fully felt comfortable with. Overzealous, too forceful, and always seeking the next confrontation. A heavy silence envelops them, only interrupted by the occasional crackle of the police radio and Jim's impatient fingers drumming on the steering wheel. Unexpectedly, Jim's posture becomes rigid. His eyes fixate on a black sedan speeding slightly through a residential street. The radar indicates 41 in a 35 zone. Jim smirks. Looks like we got one. Marcus straightens up, his body instinctively tense as Jim activates the squad car's flashing lights. The familiar red and blue lights flash over the street, casting eerie reflections on the quiet houses they drive past. The black sedan pulls over, its turn signal blinking mechanically, coming to a stop beneath a large oak tree. The sound of crickets fills the air, blending with the low hum of the squad car's engine. Jim's grin broadens, resembling a predator stalking its prey. Bet he's got something to hide, Jim mutters under his breath. Marcus remains silent, a knot forming in his stomach. Jim's enjoyment in these moments always unsettles him. He knows this routine too well. What should be a simple traffic stop could escalate in an instant. Marcus has learned to anticipate the unexpected, but tonight, the tension feels more intense. As they approach the vehicle, Marcus notices the driver, a young black man with short twists, nervously glancing at them through the rearview mirror. His hands tightly grip the steering wheel, his knuckles pale against the dark leather. Fear is evident in his eyes. Marcus steps forward on the passenger side, looking through the window. Over the years, he's learned to recognize subtle signs of fear. This young man, Jamal Hayes, appears genuinely terrified. Marcus speaks first, his voice calm yet authoritative, aiming to reduce the tension. Hey man, just stay calm. We're just checking things out, all right? Jamal's eyes shift toward Marcus, but before he can respond, Jim approaches the driver's window, his hand resting on his holster. License and registration. Now, Jim's tone is harsh, almost too harsh for the situation. The sharpness in his voice cuts through the still air, causing Marcus to wince slightly. Jamal nervously fumbles, his movements erratic, hands shaking as he reaches into the glove compartment. I'm just heading home, sir, Jamal stammers, his voice cracking. Didn't mean to. Out of the car, Jim interrupts, his voice cold. He steps back, his hand dangerously close to his gun. A chill runs through Marcus. His eyes dart between Jamal and Jim. This wasn't supposed to happen. Traffic stops, especially for speeding, should be straightforward. Write a ticket, inform the driver, and move on. But Jim's stance is stiff, his movements abrupt. Something's amiss. This shouldn't be unfolding this way. Jim, Marcus says soft split second. Gun! Without a moment's hesitation, Jim's hand reaches for his gun and fires. The gunshot is deafening, breaking the silence of the quiet street. The scent of gunpowder lingers as Jamal jerks violently in his seat, his body slumping forward, blood soaking through his white t-shirt in a dark, spreading stain. Marcus's breath catches. Time slows, the world narrowing to him and the sound of his pounding heart. His ears ring. For a fleeting moment, everything is still. Jamal's head droops forward, lifeless against the steering wheel. Jesus, Marcus whispers, his mind racing. Did that truly just happen? He glances at Jamal's hands, now limp at his sides. No weapon, no gun. Jamal's hands were empty. Panic tightens Marcus's chest as his pulse races. Was there even a threat? His mind replays the scene repeatedly. Jamal wasn't reaching for a weapon. He was just scared. But now he's dead. Jim lowers his weapon, breathing heavily. His expression shows no remorse, no shock, just cold calculation. Slowly, Jim turns to Marcus, his face hard and emotionless. His icy blue eyes pierce through Marcus like knives. "You saw what I saw, right?" Jim's voice is calm, almost casual, as if discussing what to eat for lunch. But Marcus senses the gravity in those words, the unspoken command behind them. His body tenses. This is more than a question. It's a warning. Marcus's throat tightens. His mouth is dry, words forming but unable to emerge. He understands Jim's intention. Jim is shaping the narrative before it begins. Marcus feels like he's standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap or retreat. The blood on Jamal's shirt spreads, darker and larger, stark against the innocent face now motionless. Marcus stares at Jamal's empty hands, frozen by the weight of the truth. His eyes meet Jim's again. Jim's face remains unreadable, but his eyes are cold and demanding. "You saw what I saw, right?" Jim repeats, his words lingering like a noose tightening around Marcus's throat. Marcus feels the crushing pressure of the moment. One wrong word, one wrong move, and his entire world could unravel. The immediate aftermath of the shooting is a disorienting blur. The once quiet street where Jamal Hayes lay slumped in his car now buzzes with activity. Flashing lights, yellow tape fluttering in the night breeze, and the low murmur of voices as police and crime scene investigators swarm the area. Camera flashes intermittently light up the darkness, highlighting the horror of what just occurred. Marcus stands frozen near the patrol car, unable to move, as his surroundings blur in and out of focus. Jamal's lifeless body is placed into a body bag. The sight makes Marcus's stomach churn, but he feels too paralyzed to look away. His mind keeps replaying the moment the gun fired, the deafening pop, the sudden stillness. He wasn't a threat. There was no gun. The truth resonates in Marcus's mind like a bell no one else can hear. The sound of radio chatter and the commotion around him pulls Marcus from his stupor. Jim stands aside, casually speaking to the captain, gesturing with his hands as if recounting an ordinary event. There's no hesitation in Jim's words, no tremor in his voice. His partner's ease chills Marcus to the core. To Jim, this is just another day on the job. Perp made a sudden movement, Jim states matter-of-factly. He reached for something. I had to act. The captain nods solemnly, already absorbing the story without question. Marcus feels a lump in his throat as the words attempt to reach something deep inside him. He knows Jamal wasn't reaching for a gun. He was unbuckling his seatbelt, or perhaps grabbing his license. But now, those words have taken root, and Marcus understands how easily they'll become the department's truth. Minutes later, back at the precinct, Marcus is called to the captain's office. The hallway feels longer than usual, his steps weighed down with every stride. Officers glance his way, but no one speaks. The silence is suffocating, a quiet, unspoken pressure. Inside the captain's office, the atmosphere is thick with certainty. The captain, a grizzled man with decades on the force, sits behind his desk, reviewing a preliminary report. Without looking up, he speaks as if everything has already been decided. "Shoot," the captain states, his voice flat and mechanical. Kid reached for something. O'Reilly reacted like he was trained to. Back him up, and this whole thing blows over. The captain finally meets Marcus's gaze. It's not a request, it's an order. Marcus feels the room closing in on him. The air feels thin, making it hard to breathe. His throat tightens as a wave of nausea hits him. He swallows hard, aware that his next words could determine everything that follows. His mind races. If he complies, everything remains the same. The department protects him, Jim remains his partner, and he becomes just another cog in the machine. But the image of Jamal's body flashes in his mind again, that look of terror frozen on his face. "Sir, Marcus begins, his voice wavering. The captain cuts him off. "Look, Reid," he says, leaning forward, his voice a low growl. "These things happen. You've been around long enough to know that. It's part of the job. We're not out there to hesitate." O'Reilly acted by the book. You need to have his back on this. Marcus stares back, the weight of expectation crushing him. He understands what's expected. This is the unspoken code of the Force, the blue wall that keeps everything intact. You don't betray your brothers. You don't question the system. But Marcus can't stop thinking about Jamal's mother, who would be told her son reached for something. The thought makes his skin crawl. As Marcus exits the captain's office, the hallway feels even more claustrophobic. His colleagues give him small nods as he walks by, acknowledgments that he's now part of the cover-up, that he will go along with whatever story the department creates. These nods aren't friendly, they're expectant, knowing. The unspoken message is clear: you're one of us. Don't make waves. The locker room is eerily quiet as Marcus enters. He can hear the faint hum of a radio in the background, but it does nothing to alleviate the heavy silence. As he stuffs his uniform into his locker, he feels someone watching him. He turns to see Darnell, a fellow black officer, leaning against the wall. Darnell isn't a rookie. He's been on the force a few years longer than Marcus, his face marked with the wariness of someone who's seen too much. His expression is serious, his eyes scanning the room before he speaks in a low, measured tone. "It's just how it is, man," Darnell says, folding his arms across his chest. "You know that. Don't stick your neck out." Marcus stiffens. Darnell's words carry hard-earned wisdom, but are also laced with resignation. Darnell has seen it all before. How the system swallows good men. How the truth gets twisted into something unrecognizable. He's lived it. Marcus knows Darnell's words are a warning. You say anything different from what they're telling you, you'll lose everything. Your badge, your pension, your family's safety. Darnell leans in closer, lowering his voice. "Look, you've got a wife, a kid. You can't save everyone." Marcus's jaw tightens as Darnell's words sink in. You can't save everyone. But that's exactly what Marcus wanted when he first donned the badge. He believed he could make a difference, be the change he wished to see. But now, standing here, he feels the weight of Darnell's cynicism pressing down on him. Is this really what it's come to? Is this what's left of the dream? Darnell pats him on the shoulder, a gesture that feels both supportive and condemning. "Take care of yourself, Reid," he says before walking away, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. The locker room feels colder as Marcus turns back to his locker, his heart pounding. He can't shake the image of Jamal's face, the fear, the confusion, the way his body slumped in the seat, lifeless. He tries to drown it out, to push it to the back of his mind, but it lingers. Later, as Marcus steps out of the precinct into the night air, he sees Jim leaning against his car, a cigarette dangling from his lips. His face is illuminated by the soft glow of a streetlight, casting shadows that make him appear even more sinister. Jim doesn't seem shaken by what happened earlier. If anything, he seems completely at ease. Kid's mom is gonna cry. But hey, Jim shrugs, taking a long drag from his cigarette, you do what you gotta do out there. Marcus feels a wave of nausea wash over him again. Jim's nonchalance is jarring. He acts as if Jamal's death was nothing more than a routine incident, something that comes with the territory. There's no remorse, no second-guessing, just cold indifference. It makes Marcus's skin crawl. As Marcus turns to leave, hoping to escape the conversation, Jim's voice stops him. "You saw him reach for something, right?" Jim's tone is casual, but the words carry a weight that sends a chill down Marcus's spine. Marcus freezes. His back is to Jim, his feet rooted to the ground. The world feels like it's spinning out of control. His mind races as he replays the moment over and over. Jamal's hands, empty, terrified. There was no gun, but Jim is asking him to lie. No, not asking, telling him. The pressure is palpable. Marcus opens his mouth, his heart pounding in his chest. The truth is right there, on the tip of his tongue. But before he can speak, the heavy thud of footsteps interrupts the moment. A police union lawyer, dressed in a crisp suit, approaches them, his expression calm and businesslike. Without a word, he hands Marcus a neatly typed statement. The paper feels heavy in Marcus's hands, as if burdened by more than just ink. "You're gonna sign this, right?" the lawyer says, his tone flat, devoid of emotion. It's not really a question. Marcus stares at the paper, his pulse racing. The statement is already written, the narrative neatly crafted. All he has to do is sign his name. That's it. One signature, and this whole thing disappears. Marcus's hand trembles as he holds the statement. His eyes flicker between the paper and the lawyer, his mind spinning. The weight of the decision presses down on him, suffocating. One signature, and he'll be part of the lie forever. Days after the shooting, the city simmers with anger. What began as whispers and online outrage has erupted into full-scale protests. People gather outside the police station, their voices rising in chants that echo through the streets. Justice for Jamal. No justice, no peace. The once quiet neighborhood is now filled with picket signs, anger, and grief. The police station, a symbol of authority, becomes the target of their rage. Inside the station, Marcus stands by the window, his hands resting on the cold steel frame, looking down at the crowd. It feels like another world outside, loud, chaotic, real, while inside the station, everything is cold and clinical. The disconnect between the two feels unbearable. The glass between him and the crowd seems too thin, like it could shatter at any moment, and he can almost feel the pulse of the people's fury beneath the angry chants. At the center of it all stands Vanessa Hayes, her face etched with the kind of pain only a mother can feel. Her hand grips a large framed picture of Jamal, smiling in his high school graduation cap, his face still full of promise and life. Her voice, though trembling, carries a strength that cuts through the crowd's noise. News cameras swarm around her, capturing every tear, every tremble in her voice. "My baby didn't deserve to die," Vanessa sobs, her voice cracking as she holds up the picture for everyone to see. "He was my only child. He was my life, and they took him from me. Jamal wasn't armed. He wasn't a threat. They shot him, and now he's gone." She breaks down, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why did they kill my baby?" Marcus feels like someone is squeezing his chest. He wants to look away, but he can't. Every word Vanessa speaks hits him like a hammer to the gut. "I know what happened," he thinks. "I was there." Guilt swirls inside him like a storm. He knows what he saw, Jamal's empty hands, the panic in his eyes before the bullet hit him. He knows the truth, but the truth feels like a prison he can't escape. Jim's words echo in his head, icy and indifferent. "You saw him reach for something, right?" Marcus's jaw tightens. How could he even think of going to Vanessa? How could he tell her the truth when his hands are tied by the weight of the uniform he still wears? "The system would crush me," he tells himself. "If he speaks out, Jim will get away with it anyway. And Marcus will be the one left out in the cold." He tries to convince himself it wouldn't make a difference, but deep down his conscience gnaws at him, louder and more relentless with every passing second. Behind him, officers move through the station as if nothing is happening. The police scanner hums with routine calls. Some officers glance out the window at the protest with hardened expressions, others with mild curiosity. But for Marcus, the room feels like it's suffocating him, the walls pressing closer, making it hard to breathe. Later that evening, after the protest disperses and the city settles into an uneasy quiet, Marcus is at home. His house, usually a place of refuge, now feels foreign, like a place where secrets shadows. His wife, Naomi, moves quietly through the kitchen, cleaning up the dishes after dinner, but there's tension in the air. She hasn't said much since the shooting. Her eyes always seem to be searching his, asking questions she doesn't dare speak aloud. Marcus avoids her gaze, not ready to confront what she might see if she looks too closely. The doorbell rings. The sound is sharp, cutting through the tense silence of the house. Marcus exchanges a glance with Naomi, her brow furrowing in concern. It's late. They're not expecting anyone. When Marcus opens the door, he freezes. Standing on his doorstep, holding the same picture of Jamal that she had at the protest, is Vanessa Hayes. She's wrapped in a heavy coat, her eyes puffy from crying, but still filled with the determination of a mother who won't be silenced. The sight of her makes Marcus's heart lurch in his chest. "Officer Reid," she says, her voice soft but steady. There's no anger in her tone, just exhaustion and grief. "I know it's late. I didn't know where else to go." Marcus is speechless. His mouth opens, but no words come out. Behind him, Naomi steps into the doorway, her face a mix of surprise and wariness. Vanessa steps forward slightly, her grip tightening on the picture of her son. "I know you're a good man," she continues, her voice trembling but firm. "I've seen you in the neighborhood. You've always been decent to us, always treated people with respect. You care about the people here. I know you do." Her eyes search his face, pleading. "Please, I need to know the truth. What happened to my son?" Her words hang in the air, heavy and crushing. Marcus feels like the ground beneath him is crumbling. He glances over at Naomi, who stands in the doorway, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Her eyes lock with his, searching for something, an answer, a decision, anything. For a moment, it's like time stops, and Marcus is standing at a crossroads. His entire world teeters on the edge. "I just need to know," Vanessa pleads, her voice breaking. Please, tell me what happened to my baby. I need to know if he suffered. I need to know if he was scared. Marcus can't breathe. He's immobilized. His mind races uncontrollably. He recalls everything: the shooting, the blood, the lifeless body, and the lies spun to protect the department. He longs to confess, to tell Vanessa the whole truth, to provide her the closure she desperately seeks. He opens his mouth, prepared to reveal everything. His heart pounds in his chest, driven by guilt and shame, urging him to speak. But just as the words begin to form, his phone buzzes in his pocket, cutting through the moment like a sharp blade. Marcus hesitates, the sound snapping him out of his internal conflict. He pulls out his phone, glancing at the screen. It's a message from Jim. Don't do anything stupid, Marcus. Remember who's got your back. The words hit him like a gut punch. He stands frozen in the doorway, phone still in hand, the message glaring back at him like a warning, almost a threat. A cold chill runs down his spine. Marcus looks up at Vanessa, her eyes filled with raw, desperate hope. He senses Naomi's gaze on him too, her silent presence weighing heavily on him. His heart feels torn in two directions, the truth burning in his throat while fear paralyzes him. His hand tightens around the phone, Jim's words lingering in the air, suffocating him. Vanessa waits, her face a mix of grief and hope. Naomi's eyes lock onto his, silently pleading for him to choose the right path. Marcus's mouth opens, but the words won't come. The silence stretches unbearably as Marcus stands on the brink of a decision that could destroy everything. Inside the station, the atmosphere is suffocating, thick with unspoken tension that settles over the department like a dense fog. The protests outside haven't subsided. In fact, they've grown louder and angrier. The chants, signs, and faces filled with rage and grief feel like they're closing in on Marcus. Meanwhile, the department moves swiftly to control the narrative, launching an internal investigation that Marcus knows is more for appearances than for truth. The sterile conference room where the interview is set feels cold, its gray walls bare except for a single, faded poster of a bald eagle hanging crookedly on the far wall. Marcus sits at the long table, the leather chair creaking under his weight as he leans forward, attempting to steady his breathing. His pulse pounds in his ears, a steady drumbeat drowning out the distant sounds of ringing phones and muffled voices beyond the closed door. Across from him, two investigators, one from Internal Affairs and the other a senior detective from the department, sit with notepads and a tape recorder, their sharp eyes watching Marcus closely. Their faces are impassive, unreadable, but Marcus can feel the weight of their scrutiny pressing down on him. He knows this isn't a genuine search for justice. It's about protecting the department, keeping their story straight, and Marcus is merely a piece on the chessboard they're ready to move. The lead investigator, a tall, thin man with a receding hairline and a voice dripping with false politeness, leans forward slightly, his pen poised above the notepad. Officer Reid, he begins, his tone professional but devoid of warmth. We're here to clarify the events that occurred during the traffic stop involving Mr. Flashes back to the night of the shooting, to Jamal's terrified face, his trembling hands on the steering wheel, and then Jim's voice, sharp and cold. Gun. The sound of the gunshot still echoes in Marcus's mind, loud and deafening. The question lingers in the air, and Marcus feels the weight of his response. His mouth feels dry, and he swallows hard, trying to calm himself. This is the moment. He has a choice to make. Either lie to protect his career and family, or tell the truth and risk everything. He can feel the investigators' eyes on him, their pens ready to capture his every word. Marcus starts, but his voice falters. His mind races, replaying the moment repeatedly. He pictures Jamal's face again, his wide eyes filled with fear, and his empty hands reaching for nothing but his seatbelt. There was no gun. There was never a gun. But if Marcus says that, if he tells the truth, Jim will come after him. The department will turn on him, and he knows it. The lead investigator presses further, leaning in slightly. Officer Reid, he says, his voice calm but insistent. Did Officer O'Reilly have reason to believe his life was in danger? Marcus hesitates, his chest tightening as if a heavy weight is pressing down on him. He can see Jim's face in his mind, cold, indifferent, and hear his voice casual and callous. You do what you gotta do out there. Jim didn't see Jamal as a person, just another threat to eliminate. But Marcus knows the truth. He was there. He saw the entire event unfold. His pulse quickens, sweat beads on his forehead, and a deep, gnawing unease claws at his insides. His family flashes in his mind. Naomi, his wife, the quiet fear in her eyes, and their daughter, asleep in her room, unaware of the storm brewing around her father. What would happen to them if he told the truth? Would he lose everything? His job, his pension, their safety. Could he live with that? Officer Reid. The investigator's voice snaps him back to the present. The room feels too small now, too confining. The walls seem to be closing in, and the silence stretches, becoming unbearable. Marcus can feel their eyes boring into him, waiting, watching for any sign of weakness. Marcus shifts in his seat, his hands gripping the edge of the table as he tries to steady his breathing. He knows what they want him to say. He knows what the department expects from him. The lie is already there, ready to roll off his tongue. All he has to do is say it. All he has to do is protect Jim and move on. But the truth is like a weight inside him, pressing harder and harder, demanding to be heard. He opens his mouth, ready to speak, his voice trembling. I didn't. Suddenly, the door swings open with a heavy thud, startling Marcus. The tension in the room shifts immediately, as if a taut string was just severed. The investigators glance toward the door, and Marcus's heart skips a beat. Standing in the doorway is the captain, his broad figure casting a shadow over the room. His presence is commanding, his face unreadable, but his eyes flick to Marcus for just a moment heavy with unspoken meaning. He's here to stop this before it goes too far. Marcus can feel it. That'll be enough for today, the captain says firmly, his voice cutting through the thick silence like a knife. He steps into the room, addressing the investigators with a calm authority that leaves no room for argument. Reid, you're free to go. The investigators exchange glances, their pens still poised over their notepads, but they don't argue. The captain's word is final. Marcus doesn't move at first, his body frozen in the chair. The tension still grips him, his mind still racing. He hadn't even answered the question yet. The truth is still stuck inside him, burning a hole in his chest. The captain's eyes flick toward him again, and there's something chilling in his gaze. Something that tells Marcus everything he needs to know. They don't need him to answer. They've already decided what happened. The narrative is already in motion, and Marcus is just another cog in the machine. His role is to stay silent, to fall in line. Reid, the captain says again, more forcefully this time. You're dismissed. Marcus stands slowly, his legs shaky as he rises from the chair. He can feel the investigator's eyes on him as he walks toward the door, his mind a swirling storm of confusion and guilt. He doesn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. The truth is still there, lurking in the back of his mind, but now he's left wondering. Did they already know? Did they already know that Jamal wasn't a threat? Are they just planning to bury it like they've buried so many other truths? As Marcus steps out of the room, the captain places a hand on his shoulder, stopping him for a brief moment. The captain leans in slightly, his voice low, meant only for Marcus to hear. Don't worry, Reid, the captain says, his tone deceptively calm. We're handling it. Just keep your head down and stick to the story. Marcus feels his stomach drop. Stick to the story. The lie is already the reality that will be presented to the public. And Marcus is just another piece in the puzzle, expected to play his part. He walks out of the station, the captain's words echoing in his mind. Stick to the story. His heart pounds as he steps into the cool evening air, the weight of the lie pressing down on him. He glances toward the protests still brewing outside the station, the crowd chanting for justice. But inside, Marcus knows that justice is already being suffocated, and he's a part of it. The city is boiling. Each passing day brings more protests, more tension, and increased pressure. The crowds outside the station are no longer just grieving. They're furious, demanding accountability. Their voices, loud and unrelenting, seep into Marcus's consciousness every time he walks past the station's windows. Justice for Jamal. No justice. The chants echo in his head even when he's alone, haunting him. At first, Marcus tries to block out the noise, convincing himself that if he keeps his head down, it'll all blow over, as Jim said. But that hope fades quickly. As the protests intensify, shadows begin to creep into Marcus's life. The threats start small, just whispers, Rumors that he hears through the grapevine, mentions of loose cannons, and how the department handles anyone who steps out of line. But soon, those whispers turn into something more sinister. It begins with the phone calls. They come late at night, the kind that jerk you awake from sleep, heart pounding. Marcus groggily answers the phone, only to be met with silence. The first time, he brushes it off as a wrong number, but then it happens again. And again, each time there's no one on the other end. Just silence. Marcus listens to the static, feeling the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Someone's there. Someone's listening. They're sending a message. The letters come next. One evening, after another long day at the station, Marcus comes home to find a plain white envelope slipped under his door. No address, no stamp, just his name scrawled in jagged, hurried letters. His hands tremble slightly as he picks it up. He rips open the envelope, his breath catching in his throat as he pulls out the note inside. The words are few, but the message is clear. Keep quiet, or else. Marcus's blood runs cold. He reads the note over and over, his pulse quickening, his mind racing. Who sent this? Was it the department, trying to remind him of the stakes? Or was it someone else? Someone more dangerous? He tries to brush it off, telling himself it's nothing. Just intimidation tactics. It doesn't mean anything. But deep down, fear gnaws at him. The kind of fear that sticks with you, creeping into the corners of your mind, even when you try to forget about it. The kind of fear that makes you double-check the locks at night and glance over your shoulder when you walk to your car. A week later, late at night, Marcus is tucking his young daughter Leah into bed. She's only 6, with wide, innocent eyes and a smile that melts his heart every time. As he pulls the covers up to her chin, she yawns and reaches up to wrap her small arms around his neck, hugging him tightly. "Good night, Daddy," she whispers, her voice soft and sleepy. "Good night, baby girl," Marcus murmurs, kissing her forehead and lingering there for a moment, as if trying to absorb the warmth of her embrace, trying to remind himself why he's doing all of this, why he's staying silent, why he's protecting them. As he rises from her bed and turns to leave her room, something catches his eye through the small crack in the curtains. Outside, parked just beyond the driveway, is a car idling, its headlights on, casting long, eerie shadows across the yard. Marcus freezes, his heart skipping a beat. The car doesn't move. It just sits there, the engine humming softly in the still night. For a moment, Marcus considers going outside, confronting whoever is in the car. But then, as if sensing his thoughts, the car's headlights flash twice, bright, blinding beams cutting through the darkness. Marcus's heart pounds in his chest. Then, just as quickly, the car speeds off, disappearing down the street and into the night. Marcus stands there, staring after it, his mind racing. It could have been anyone, but Marcus knows the truth. It's them. The department has its ways of keeping people in line. And now, they've come to his doorstep. Naomi appears behind him in the hallway, her voice quiet, but filled with concern. You think it's them who she means, Marcus knows. She's been worried for days, ever since the first phone call, ever since the first letter. They both know what's at stake. Marcus clenches his jaw, trying to keep a brave face. He doesn't want to scare her, doesn't want her to see just how deep his fear runs. But he can't lie to her. Not anymore. "Yeah," he mutters, his voice tight. "I think it's them." Naomi's expression hardens, fear flashing in her eyes for a brief moment before she forces it down. She nods, biting her lip, and then disappears back into Leah's room, checking the window, making sure everything is locked. At work, the tension is even worse. Marcus can feel eyes on him wherever he goes, watchful, suspicious eyes. Some of his fellow officers act like nothing's wrong, but others, they look at him differently now, like they know he's a loose end that needs tying up. And Jim is as cocky as ever, his swagger untouched by any sense of guilt or remorse. In the locker room, Jim leans against the wall, arms crossed over his chest, his usual smirk plastered on his face. "You see all that mess out there?" he says casually, jerking his thumb toward the window, where the sounds of the protest filter in from outside. These people, they're going to forget about all this soon enough. A couple more weeks, tops, the news will move on. They always do. Marcus doesn't respond, just keeps pulling on his gear, his jaw clenched. He can feel Jim's eyes on him, sizing him up, looking for cracks. Jim's voice lowers slightly, taking on a more dangerous edge. "Look, man, This whole thing is gonna blow over. People forget. But you, Jim steps closer, his breath hot against Marcus's ear. You do something stupid, and you'll be out on your ass. You understand me? Marcus stiffens, his fists clenching at his sides. He wants to turn and punch Jim, to wipe that smug grin off his face. But he knows he can't. Jim has the power here. And Marcus is stuck. Later that day, Marcus is at home, trying to lose himself in the routine of family life. Naomi is in the kitchen, preparing dinner, while Leah plays with her dolls on the living room floor. For a moment, it almost feels normal, like the storm outside their lives hasn't reached them here. But the illusion is shattered in an instant. The sound of breaking glass cuts through the air like a gunshot. Marcus spins around just in time to see a brick hurtling through the front window, the glass shattering into jagged shards that scatter across the floor like deadly confetti. Leah screams, dropping her doll as Naomi rushes into the room, her eyes wide with panic. Marcus, she cries, her voice filled with fear. Marcus's heart pounds as he rushes to the window, glass crunching under his shoes. Outside, there's no sign of anyone. The street is empty, as if the world had conspired to hide whoever just threw the brick. But it's the note attached to the brick that makes Marcus's blood run cold. He rips the note from the brick, his hands trembling as he reads the hastily scrawled words, "Rat, and your family gets it." Marcus stares at the note, his heart hammering in his chest, his mind spinning. He's been careful, he hasn't said anything. He's followed the rules, kept his mouth shut, but it doesn't matter. They know he's thinking about talking. They know he's a risk, and now they're threatening his family. Behind him, Leah is crying, her small body shaking as Naomi holds her close, her own face pale with fear. The sound of Leah's sobs fills the room, cutting through Marcus like a knife. His hands tighten into fists around the note, rage and fear mixing into a toxic swirl inside him. Just then, his phone buzzes in his pocket. Marcus pulls it out, his stomach sinking as he reads the message on the screen. It's from Vanessa Hayes. "I need to talk to you. I know what you're hiding." The late afternoon sun casts long shadows over the park, creating an eerie stillness that makes Marcus's heart race even faster. It's the kind of quiet that amplifies every sound, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant hum of traffic, the occasional bark of a dog. Marcus chose this park because it's secluded, away from prying eyes and listening ears, but now that he's here, the isolation feels suffocating. His nerves are frayed, every muscle tense as he sits on a bench beneath a large oak tree, watching the entrance to the park, waiting for Vanessa Hayes to arrive. His thoughts are a whirlwind of fear and regret. The threats, the brick, the note, they all flash through his mind. He's been trying to keep it together, trying to hold on to the lie the department has woven around him, but it's unraveling fast. And now, meeting Vanessa feels like the moment when everything could finally break. I shouldn't have agreed to this, he thinks for the 100th time. But it's too late. He's here. He has to face her. When Vanessa finally appears, Marcus feels a wave of anxiety wash over him. She moves toward him with a slow, deliberate gait, her face set in a hard, determined expression. She's carrying the same framed picture of Jamal she held at the protests, his smiling face staring back at Marcus as if asking him why. He stands as she approaches, but before he can say anything, Vanessa's voice cuts through the silence, direct and unflinching. "I know the department is covering this up," she says, not wasting any time on pleasantries. Her voice is steady, but underneath it, Marcus can hear the simmering anger, the deep well of grief that she's barely keeping at bay. "And I know you're part of it." Marcus feels his stomach drop. His heart pounds in his chest, a cold sweat forming at the back of his neck. He looks away, unable to meet her eyes because he knows she's right. "I'm part of it." He swore to serve and protect, and now he's doing neither. Vanessa takes a step closer, her voice hardening. "You were there, Marcus. You know my son didn't deserve to die. You know he wasn't a threat. So why are you protecting the man who killed him?" Her words are like a punch to the gut. Marcus feels their weight settle on his shoulders, pressing down harder than any of the threats he's received. He can feel his carefully constructed words